And first we're going to call this meeting to order. And Lana, can you give us a roll call?
Winfrey, Brooks,
Here.
Chrysalone,
Here.
Harris,
Here.
Markham,
Here.
Moran, Eustace, Ogalla, here, Summers, here, Trainier, and Ferry. You do have a quorum.
Thank you, Lana. And Judy Ogalla, where are you? Can you lead us in the pledge?
Sure, thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda today is approval of minutes. And first of all, it's Executive Committee for April 4th. Can I have a motion to approve?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have an Executive Committee for April the 11th. Can I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Move in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, under old business. This motion, this was tabled at the April 11th Executive Committee, authorizing county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Joliet regarding Joliet Intermodal Master Transportation Study. Well, we need a motion to remove it from the table. Then, next we need a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Next we need a motion to remove it from the agenda for today.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried. All right, next is a discussion regarding Aon, broker consultant renewal. Bruce Tidwell.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just sit here.
Just put the money in there.
So last week, you'll recall, we had our account executive from Aon here to present a renewal for our broker and consulting, actuarial, and benefits administration services. And there was discussion regarding having them come back and present us with a modified renewal that would take us through December of 2020 instead of a 3-year contract, to give us the opportunity to explore putting together an RFQ, just as a matter of course, since they've been our vendor for a few years. We can do that, and so they went back and they presented, and I think it's attached to your agenda, the renewal for basically 1.5 years. It takes us through the end of 2020 with no changes, the same dollar amount. That will give us the opportunity then to do an RFQ.
Any questions? Mike?
Yeah, one thing that we didn't talk to Bruce was about Cross Shield. Now, is that Aon's responsibility to be checking the prices on that? Or?
Yes. So yes, they do full marketing on our behalf. They do full negotiations on our behalf. They have consistently brought back significant reductions in Blue Cross renewal. They do the negotiations for us. Yes.
So we've had Blue Cross now for 11 years.
Well, since 2002. Well, we had them before, We
right?
left for 2 years
That healthcare doesn't.
and then came back. Yes.
So, at what point, beyond just negotiation, at what point do they go out for an RFP?
Upon our request,
So, don't you think we're at time?
we can do that,
We're
absolutely.
15 years in then, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I know it's good practice that we do that as well. And maybe we do it concurrent with the RFP for Aon, or does it make sense to do it ahead of it?
Well, we would want to do, it's too late in the year to do it for next year.
Right?
So we would actually want to do an RFQ for the brokerage services first, because the brokerage service actually does negotiations. So
Okay.
we would decide on if we were going to retain Aon or move to somebody else. And then we would give that firm direction on going out to a full market for medical.
Right, so we're going to put that as part of the bid, that, you know, whoever comes on board in 2020, whether it's Aon or someone else,
They're required to do a
their
full
first
market.
deal is that they need to go out and, okay,
Yes.
good, thanks.
You're welcome.
Bruce, how often do we go out for bid? How often do the RFQ? Is it, I mean, you said it's 15 years, is there any that markers that we do this, or if it's not broke, don't fix it, we just stay?
Well, yeah, I mean, there is the adage, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
I know that the employee population played a very big role, and the unions did, when we left Blue Cross and went to United Healthcare, and then went back to Blue Cross.
Okay.
Because those 2 years with United Healthcare really wasn't a nightmare. Obviously, the Blues are the biggest players in Illinois. We do get the biggest discounts. They have the widest, largest networks. You know, we can also look at the fixed fees, the admin fees, because we're self-insured, so it's administrative services only. And look at fixed fees, which is really a small portion of our overall spend on healthcare. But it's not a bad idea every so often to keep these companies on their toes. You know, sharpen their
Should there be a marker every 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Is that-
I think every 3 years is a little too soon. You know, because new programs are introduced within the health plan, you got to get it time to gel and spread. You know, I would say with the actual medical insurance company like Blue Cross, probably 10 years is probably a good idea. Brokerage, again, if it's not broke, you know, maybe 7, 8 years, 9 even. But obviously, if there's fundamental problems that we're experiencing, I would certainly recommend doing it.
So you said population also dictates employee population up and down, that would also.
Yeah, and age too. So, you
We
know,
don't talk about age.
well, actually, our average age of our total employee population is age 34.
I didn't even relate to that.
Yeah, forgot to figure her in.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Herb and Bruce and Mike. Is there any more questions? All right, I'm looking for a motion to place this on the Will County Board agenda. So, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion and second to move this to the county board agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
I couldn't quite hear the I. You're not talking about.
Yeah, they're not wide open eyes.
Yes, well, it's got to speak up. I couldn't hear you, Julie, that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Herb. Now let's move on to the DuPage River Study Update and next steps. And we're calling on Scott Killinger and David Dubois to come up and talk to the entire group here.
Good morning. I'm here with Scott on behalf of Nick Palmer. I know in your packet there are documents related to a resolution that we're requesting the board to consider. Just to give you a little background, we'll make this as brief as possible. In July of 2015, the county entered into a feasibility cost-sharing agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the DuPage County Stormwater Commission. And the purpose is to conduct a study of flood problems within the DuPage River watershed. This project's been ongoing. We've been working for a long time on this. I know the county so far has contributed over the course of a couple of fiscal years, a little over $600,000 with work in kind with $100,000. So we have a lot of investment in this project. As part of the ongoing approval process, the Chicago District recently required the county to provide 3 non-binding documents, and those are in your packet. The first is a non-binding letter of support. The second is a non-federal sponsor self-certification of financial capability for decision documents. And the third was the assessment of non-federal sponsors' real estate acquisition capacity. And the Corps was requesting this as part of the final report for them to be able to release it for public comment. And in order to avoid delaying the approval process for the final feasibility report and the integrated environmental assessment, the Executive's office signed the non-binding documents, and we provided them to the Corps in order for them to proceed to release the final report and the assessment. We did ask the Corps if we could delay the submittal of the documents for board consideration prior to doing so, and they indicated to us that would have been problematic and would have delayed the project. And so we made the decision to go ahead and do that with the Executive's office. Again, I just want to emphasize these are non-binding documents, and that the board in the future will have under consideration as to what point and how far they want to go with projects with the Corps based upon the results of the study. So again, on behalf of the Executive's office, requesting the board to consider the resolution, and I know they could put in here that the letters they've already been sent, and so the board be confirming the execution of the documents and officially approving the transmittal of those documents to the Corps. Just as a note, the report and integrated assessment as a result of us submitting those documents are now available for separate public comment period on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers website. And that public comment period is 15 days and runs through May 17th, with U.S. Army HQ final approval being anticipated of the project in July. So we did this again to keep things on track. I know I have Scott here. If anybody has any questions on the particular of the project or what's been done and where it's going to be going in the future. But the main thing today is we want to be before you with this resolution. I appreciate your time.
Any questions? Doesn't look like there's any, so I am in need of a motion to place this on Wood County Board agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, there's no other old business. That wraps up the old business. And now we move on to new business. And first on the top of the agenda for new business, we have a report on the April 2nd election for 2019. And we have Will County Clerk, Lauren Staley Ferry, to provide that report.
Where do you want me?
Right there.
Down here? Okay, all right. Where am I now? Good morning, County Board. Thanks for having me today. So Chuck is passing out a copy of an election report that we created this time. As a previous county board member, I don't remember receiving anything like this, and we just thought it would be really helpful. Having gone through it this first time, it is an amazing operation, and I wanted all of you to know, just about a high-level overview. There's a lot of information in the report here, but it really details the processes, the deployment of staffing and equipment, and the costs. I also included challenges and any procedural changes, and so they're in there as well. It's certainly an attempt to be as comprehensive and transparent as possible. We may have not included everything in here, so if you have questions, we are more than willing to supplement with other reports that for anything that you have. I wanted to say a huge thanks to my county clerk staff. and the team that helped with creating this report and everything, on election day and the events leading up to it. It's, like I said, it's an amazing operation. So I am going to run through this very quickly. Please take time to go ahead and read through the report and let me know if you have any questions. But I'm going to go ahead and fly through this. I won't take up too much time. So we start off with the filing of the nominating petitions. There were 140 school board candidates that filed, along with their statements of economic interest. There were 622 candidates total on the ballot. In our office, we also received the certificates of ballot for any referenda, candidates for municipalities, park districts, library districts, and fire. We did have 2 objections this go around. So they were for the Bloomberg Park District. We had 3 hearings at the courthouse, and both of the candidates remained on the ballot. So we did have a minor change for this process. When people come in to look at signatures or thinking about objecting to a petition, previously they would sit with our staff, and our staff would go through. We ended up working with IT and creating secure terminals for candidates that wanted to come in and do that. So they are able to sit alone on a secure terminal and check signatures, which frees up our staff to continue doing their important work throughout the day. So that was exciting. One of the challenges that we did see through that process was that the way we hold the lottery, we are looking at having the state board approve the way that we hold the lottery currently, or do it according to statute. So we are working through that right now. Voter registration, the voter registration department processed 15,571 registrations from December of 18 through April. 6,630 were newly registered voters. The rest were address changes and name changes. There were 439,720 registered voters in 2019 and 419,882 in the 2017 consolidated election. So there's some costs here. 50,000 voter cards we had printed for $9,542. We print and mail those cards in-house in batches of 1,500. We've mailed 24,107 cards since then. We had like a large batch prior from when I took office, so that's included in there. Some challenges and changes. We really want to look at revamping the voter cards, just kind of streamlining the wording, improving spacing, and any issues on the cards. And then there is a statute that we have to do a mass mailing every 2 years. So it's been done in the summer months of even years. So we are looking at that for 2020 and examining any efficiencies that we can do with that mailing. All right, ballot tabulators. So we own 420 M100s. Those are the tabulators that go out on election day. We own 379. We put 379 in the field, 1 in each of the 304 polling places, and we sent 75 to field technicians as backups. The DS200s are the bigger machines that we have in all of the early voting locations. Those go to all the local clerks, and we have 6 that stay here. ES&S, Electronic Systems and Services, is our largest vendor. They come out, they do logic and accuracy testing on all of the equipment before the election and the weeks prior to the election, the months prior to the election. They repair any damaged equipment. They have technical experts that come out to work with our ballot on-demand, early voting equipment. So there's some costs listed out here. Our contractual costs with ES&S, $279,825 for this election. 2018, it was $267,620. I mean, the numbers are pretty similar there. The increase is, per the contract, and then we did have more people in the field on election day this time. So we are actually looking at meeting with the vendor on our contract to see what we can do as far as cost reductions. A lot of that will be possibly bringing that logic and accuracy testing back in-house. Instead of having our vendor do it and outsource it, we would like to have our staff complete that testing. They've done it before, we think they can do it again. So we're going to work with our vendor to do that. Ballot preparation and printing. So we had 334 distinct ballot styles for this election. There's 101 in a general election. So it's a really big difference. It's a huge process, all the proofing and making sure that the ballots are accurate and correct. The cost to print the ballots are $427,000, 15 pre-printed ballots, $119,564. Blank ballots, like a shell ballot for our ballot on demand printer, so it's like ballot paper that gets printed on demand. $15,029 costs $5,260.15, and then 13,842 voter applications for $3,460. One of the challenges that we saw with this, the statute requires the county clerk or all the county clerks to print 10% more ballots than there are registered voters. So that 110% ballot printing requirement, as you know, for an election like this past one with 13% turnout, there's a huge waste. So we are looking at, obviously we don't want to impede, you know what I mean, but, having enough ballots for everybody. If we did happen to have 100% voter turnout, which is what our goal is, every time, but the reality is we don't have that. So we are looking at ways to manage those costs, working with our legislators since it is statute. And so we are going to talk to them to find out how we can manage those costs.
Right, especially during consolidating, so few people come out for that versus the other elections. It's crazy. We never get 100% anyway.
It was one of the first things we noticed. You know what I mean? It's a big deal that we have to print that much and so much is wasted. So we want to go ahead and take a good look at that to see how we can manage those costs. Without, obviously we want to make sure that everybody has access to the ballot. So we don't
Right,
want
and I have another question on that, if you don't mind. I know that we had some situations where the long ballots went out. What did you find was the reason, and what steps are you taking for looking into that? And I know issues can happen, obviously.
It is in the book here.
But we'll get to it.
Yeah, early voting, vote by mail. If I'll
Okay.
I'll get to it.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
Judy. I'm just kidding. So the voter information guide, you guys are probably really familiar with this. Everybody gets one. It's the like quadruple page document that gets sent out in the mail with a sample ballot in it. So that went out to 207,780 households. There is statutory requirements for that as well. We have to let people know about voting aids, methods in which they can vote, early voting locations and hours, the notice of election, any referenda that's on the ballot. The cost for that is $50,997. In 2007, it was $48,564 with an additional $5,000 for the Homeland Township primary, so pretty much the same. We did see one challenge with this. We had somebody call, they looked up their sample ballot online and noticed that they didn't have a race in their area on their sample ballot. It was our staff, immediately jumped on this one to find out what happened, but it was a miscoding in a redistricted area. So only impacted the election department. We were able to get to the vendor and have them reprint the information, and so we were able to take care of that very quickly. It did have an added cost, though, to have them, reprint and resort some of those guides. But we have some meetings with vendors on the calendar right now to talk about revamping the guide, just because it's very big right now. It's that 4-page folded guide. We think that we may be able to minimize some of the information on it and, really just make it more comprehensive and robust for voters out there. And hopefully, again, manage the costs. If we can decrease that at all, then we would like to do that as well. Let's see, the poll record binder covers. This was a very interesting, when we wrote the report, this is just quick information, 450,900 applications and 1,013 covers to these applications were printed. These applications confirm, the voter signature. When you go to vote, you sign on it, and so they match the registration database. It was $37,424. So in this consolidated election, there were 57,865 votes cast. We printed 450,000 of these applications. So right now, there's a sticker that gets put on it. We have a printer. The sticker gets printed on it that's got your name. We are going to look at a way to make that universal, to have the election, the precinct, all the information that's on the application right now on that sticker. So we can use those applications that get printed all of the time, election after election after election. So excited about that too, because we see a lot of waste in some of these things. Polling places, just really quick, they have 304 precincts located in 244 locations. We have a storage company, Mayflower, that delivers and sets up all the election equipment. It's $75 in rent per precinct to each polling place, so that cost is $22,800. And the Mayflower, the storage, the company setup, moving company, and setup service was $58,671. Okay, early voting vote by mail. This is a big area department of the office. We had 4,896 requested and returned vote by mail ballots. 6,378 were requested, so there were 1,482 that were not returned. We had 11 U.S. military requests vote by mail ballots, and all 11 were returned and completed and counted. So the postage for each vote by mail ballot is $2.30. So the total postage was $15,100. We used $11,900 worth of postage on leftover envelopes from the previous administration. She had pre-printed postage on the envelopes. We just made labels that said my name and put the labels on the envelopes so we didn't have to waste the prepaid postage that were on envelopes. It worked great. We had the staff, affix those in-house. So we ended up only spending $3,200 for new postage on this election. This was the first time in a while, I think, that we saw estimates from union print shops. And we did find out that diversifying the print vendors resulted in a $962 savings compared to the other quote we got. So $2,683.87 to print vote by mail envelopes, $14,1252 for in-office voter applications. It does talk about the printer, the jam here. So it really does detail out what happened. It was a printer jam. We spoke with the state's attorney right away. It impacted 5 ballots. And everything was resolved.
Where were those at, or 5 ballots?
There were
Frankfurt, Homer, Joliet. Yeah, maybe 2 in Joliet. I can't remember the exact location. But everybody was contacted. They were mailed they were overnighted a corrected ballot. Yeah, so it went well. Let's see. Early voting and in person, 8,266 compared to 8,782 for 2017. We have 21 early voting locations, including the clerk's office. Fountaindale Public Library, we did get them to expand to weekends and evenings, which was good. They're a very busy location. And then we did bring on Shorewood Village Hall with a commitment for them to serve in 2020 as well. So Fountaindale Public Library costs $5,325. That includes 4 part-time clerk staff members at $13 an hour. City of Naperville, that cost is for their staff time beyond their normal work hours. Wheatland Township, same thing. And then we have Borman Transport, who transports the early voting equipment to those locations, and that's $6,070.50. We did find a challenge there. The Wheatland Township location is not going to work in the future. We have talked to the township clerk there. Parking is terrible. It's a small location, so we're actually going out to meet with them to talk to them, just to let them know we understand their concerns. When we are going to look at other locations in that area.
So you said that Bolingbrook expanded to Saturday?
Yeah. Yep.
And so are all the locations now on the same time frame?
No.
How do we get that?
They have contracts, so the early voting locations have to be open. Well, the permanent ones have to be open at the same time as we are in the clerk's office.
They have to mirror our office.
They have to mirror our
office
hours.
For the early voting?
Right.
Right. The permanent voting places. The permanent. So we can ask them, and we have had conversations with some of the locations to ask them if they can stay, have the same hours that we do, but they may not have the staff to accommodate that. So it really just depends on what they can do. Conversations that we continue to have with each location.
Yeah, it's not fair if Jeff said it's one area and not another area. I mean, I know they can go somewhere else.
I mean, that's the goal right now, is to see if we can
That is the goal,
standardize.
right,
Yeah.
right. That would make things, yeah.
But again, we have conversations with these clerks, or we're having conversations with these clerks prior to, sending out the contracts with them. They, have the ability to control their offices. Our goal would be always to, have hours open as much as possible, or as close to our hours as possible. But, again, they control their offices, and so we're working with them.
Quickly, poll books, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just to be clear, so the individual clerk sets the hours for the early voting at each location. So it's set up by the clerk. So at Wheatland Township, it's set up by the Wheatland Township clerk.
Correct. They fill out an application that specifically says they'll be open, they choose to be open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4.
And so they provide the staff, or do you provide the staff?
For some locations, they provide the staff. Like for Fountaindale, it's part-time staff in the clerk's office.
I think if there was some continuity, there would be less confusion, and I think that would be one of the goals we want to have, especially with maybe staffing. I know Wheatland, that was part of their concern, the volume and staffing it and the cost. And then also, if everybody knows that we have the same hours at each location, it would also be beneficial.
So, yeah, thank you for that. So at those permanent polling places too, where we staff them, they are a little bit more expensive. We talked about in the office going out east and finding a permanent polling place out in eastern Will County that would have extended hours, voter registration services, same day, but that would be like a $5,000 cost because we would staff it and have the same hours as the clerk's office. I mean, it would be ideal if we had that everywhere because it would be the same hours, our staff, but it is more costly.
One thing we do, though, is we try to make certain that we let people know in our voter information guide that, here are your early voting hours, in the voting sites that are closest to you. So that is, customized for specific regions, specific precincts. We also post it online. We have, pretty detailed information about early voting hours online as well on our website.
So I think we have to get to the point where it's going to cost us money. We have to have these places open at the same time. We can't not have Saturdays somewhere and have Saturdays other places. Even if it's going to cost us, because then it's not fair to the constituents in particular areas. They can't vote on Saturday.
I'm in total agreement with you on that, I think, but here's the thing, so I'm just going to make a clarification. If they're not permanent voting sites, they do, they can choose when they want to be open.
That's right.
Such as in Creek Township, they're open from 9 to noon.
Right.
And they're reopen from 1 to 3. That doesn't help the working people that are getting off the trains. So, we need a permanent site out there, and that's how I feel it also should be across the board. I would rather spend the money so that people get to vote.
So my opinion is a bit different, and you're probably looking for input from everybody, I assume. My opinion is for the voters that I talk to, there are people who they early vote, and they know when to vote in our area. The smaller areas and large areas, and they kind of know when to vote, where they're going to go to vote. They don't have any problem. As far as taking on additional costs, as far as the time, to me, it's less expensive perhaps to mail them a ballot, and everyone has that option to take a mail, ask for a vote by mail.
Yeah.
And that would, if that saves us money, that makes more sense than having staff be open and trying to make everybody be open the same amount of time as our office here, because it's a different type of staffing, in my opinion. And there are so many options to vote. You can vote by mail. You can early vote. You can vote. A lot of people want to vote only on election day. That's the day that my vote counts because it's election day. So I think you guys looking into it will come up with a good thing. But I don't think there's one fix for everything except for on election day.
Great, thank you. feedback. Rachel?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of what Judy said, that I would love to see you guys do, even if there was just a pilot program for a small portion of Will County even, to really push the vote by mail. So instead of sending out the voter information, you're actually sending out the ballot. So you're sending the same amount of postage on the going, and then it's the return when you would be increasing your costs on that. But if you could get, first of all, a higher return, if you guys know some of the stats in other states and areas have a much higher turnout with vote by mail, but then long term, you would be cutting down your costs because you wouldn't have to have as many early voting locations and judges and everything else. So, you know, even if we started small, fix a couple precincts, or if we could do all Will County, that would be even better. But I know you have to work with the state. So I think long term, that should really be, if we're talking about saving money, that's really where a huge cost savings is. And the flip side, the positive side of that is you have a much higher voter turnout, and that's been proven across the United States.
Okay, quick, I know I'm going a long time here, but you guys are all familiar with the poll books, I'm sure, so I'll go ahead and skip that. There's a lot of good numbers in there, what we had out in the field. Packing, staging, delivery of supplies and equipment. This is, I think, a little section, but it's really a huge deal for our office. There are 304 supply bags, boxes, election binders, extra materials that need to get to the polling place on election day. We have a huge space issue and challenge. Our equipment literally overflows into the public areas and the office. But we make do, but it is quite the operation. Our staff down in the basement getting all the supplies and making sure that everything accurately gets sent to the polling places is truly amazing and quite a feat. Election judges, again, I won't go through all the numbers here, but it's a two-person team that handles the election judges that go out on election day. There's some great stats in the report on how they manage all of the people and get them to where they need to be, supply pickup, key pickup for locations that aren't open. Challenges remain, obviously, it's a perennial challenge for us to recruit election judges. It's just really hard. We've been out in the community at some expos and really trying to talk to people about becoming an election judge and just making them aware. We've heard a lot of good feedback, but again, we're going to be talking to outreach to students, younger people, but we may also reach out to all of you to say, reach out to your communities, your county board districts, let people know that we are looking for election judges and that we are going to be recruiting heavily for the upcoming election. Field technicians, these are our first responders. They're election judges that are advanced. They know the technology. They have 4 different locations on election day. They go from the location, answer calls, help with technology, really just make sure everything's running smoothly. There's an election day synopsis in the report. It is not only a long day for election judges, but it is for the staff. We arrive at the office at 4:30, and some of us don't leave until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, 4:30 a.m. Yes, of course. On election day, our field technicians in our office recorded 253 calls. We use it's called WebEOC, and it's through our EMA office that helps us with that. So we took 253 calls on election day. The majority were due to poll book printer malfunctions, campaign free zone violations, and electioneering calls. All the calls were addressed by staff in the office, state's attorneys, anybody that was out in the field. Everything was addressed without any disruption to voting. Very smooth day.
Lauren,
Yes.
could I ask a question while you're on page 10 and 11?
Okay.
You mentioned, I tried not to throw you off like Judy did. But you mentioned your staff there late, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I'm looking at page 10, 4:30 a.m. Facilities open, 5 to 11 a.m. somebody troubleshooting. How does that affect your budget? Does that cost, I'm sure it swells your budget, but is that overtime? How does that affect your budget when you have to stay that late, start that early?
We have a count time schedule for the election.
Built in?
For the election day. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah. Thanks for coming down. So my question is, what are the blank ballots that we need to print, 15,000 blank ballots? Yeah, well, I didn't want to interrupt because I figured maybe we'd get to it, but my concern is when I look at $120,000 to print ballots, 110% of them, and then it says total cost of printing 15,029 blank ballots is only 5,000. Blank ballots are printed on ballots on demand. So it seems like the clerk's office has the ability to print them if a precinct were to run out.
Right.
So then why do we need 110% in the first place? I mean, to me, this is just absolutely ludicrous. And that's a massive savings. So if you want to take half of that money, I mean, 1/8 of those ballots were used in reality. That money could open up a whole lot of places. The second question I have is, how many individuals are there how many judges? 5 per precinct? 5. As we migrate more towards early voting, off-site voting, permanent voting locations, mail-in voting, do we really need 5 in the future? I mean, is this something, one of our precincts in New Lenox had like 26 voters. I mean,
I think there's legislation actually out there that lessens the amount. I think you can actually have 3, but you want to have 2 from each party at least, right? So.
One from each party.
Right. So, it is something that we
It
will
would, I mean, it would not only save on the ballots, but then you would save a tremendous amount of money paying election judges. You paid $250,000 for 5 of them. And half of them are probably sitting there bored out of their minds.
Right, and I think in the general elections, we'll probably need all of them.
Absolutely.
Right, so, but to have that flexibility for the consolidated.
Absolutely. Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say in response to Mr. Tumano's comments, much of this is statutorily required.
I
It's not
understand.
like she had the choice. And the clerks over the years, I mean, this, almost as long as I've been here, clerks have been trying to work with the legislature to make this better. But it is a difficult thing, you know, like Lauren indicated before, the legislature does not want anyone showing up at the polling place and not getting a ballot. And legislation affects every county statewide. So I don't know that every single county has the ability to print ballots on demand. And I don't know, and Lauren, you can answer this, but I don't know if we have the ability to print ballots at every single polling place.
We not at every single
No,
one.
no,
Like,
so-
we would have to.
And I completely understand. I'm not blaming
No,
our
I
clerks
just
at
wanted
all.
to make sure.
But to me, it just seems, I mean, it's obvious to me that somebody has a lobbying company downstate that owns the ballot printing company, but I don't want to get into that. But I mean, when you're printing, I mean, massive amounts, there's got to be millions and millions and millions of ballots that just get thrown away. That's a waste.
So the one thing that we do is we have locations, larger locations spread out throughout the county that are prepared to print ballots on demand. So for example, if there were some snafu at a various, at a specific polling place, they would be able to print those ballots,
And take them.
100, and take them over. Exactly.
So let me ask you a question, being that we had the 13%, how many actual ballots needed to be printed to rush to a precinct because they ran out? Nothing.
None.
That's my point.
Right.
That's our point.
Yes.
I wanted to add that I think that as far as how many election judges you need at a precinct, I think you have to really look at each district because they're different. And in our district, there were several times when we have a lot of new registered voters because there's a lot of people moving in. There were several instances where there was confusion because of the name or the signature, and 1 or 2 election judges was pulled off to the side, and many times that line built up to maybe 6 or 7 residents waiting to vote. So if you take a district like that and you knock it down, it could be a problem. So I think, again, you have to consider the characteristics of the voter base there and the residential. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we're almost done. Satellite counting stations. So at the end of the night on election day, we do have satellite counting stations. Plainfield, Monique, Bolingbrook, the Levy Center, Bolingbrook, and then here. 3 county clerk staff members go. We have 1 person from IT, 15 election workers to check in the judges, and then we do have the sheriff's deputies that help transport and then stay out in those locations for security, traffic control, things like that. The costs are listed here as well. I think all of you are familiar with the public test, central count, retab, original count. Most of you should be. They're all public out here. A lot of people I have seen there. A lot of information there, and then we were able to send out a lot of press releases, a lot of media coverage about the things that we have coming up as far as public test, central count, election, voting, early voting, all of these things. We have tried to increase our social media presence as well. This is all for outreach, engagement in the voting process. Again, 13% turnout is not great, so we want to get the word out there and get people engaged as much as we can. So this is, really a hard, fast summary I gave you guys. There's a lot of information. It's a work in progress. This is, my first election, the first time we've done a report like this. So we are hoping to, make it better each time. We want to, give these reports to you, after each election, so you're aware of the costs and everything. Big thanks to IT, to the sheriff's office, and the deputies that come out, the staff, and I mean, it truly is a team effort to make this happen. It's an amazing operation, and it was very exciting. So if you guys have questions or any feedback, please let us know. We are more than willing to, answer any questions, and we will be working on the report in the future.
Okay, Judy, you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a couple things I want to say. Great job on that summary of that. It's good information that we didn't have in the past, or Nancy might have come up and told us it, but it's nice to have it here so you can actually, if a constituent asks a question, we can say, well, you know what, we did this and we did that, and da-da-da, and we know the timing was extensive on that election day, so that was really good. And obviously, we learned it inside and out, because you would be, you're living it every day, so I appreciate that. I had a couple questions, and it's not really related to this, but I know that legislation is dead on that clerk, county clerk thing. But I was wondering, you know how legislation happens to come up again, would you possibly be taking the time to look into what the cost might be in case it came up? I know you guys were very busy, and with your first election, there's no way that you could do that. But do you think you guys might be doing that in case it come up again, and maybe it won't? I mean, who knows for sure. And I think maybe I was just thinking that'd be something to tell us if you do have the time to look into it. Because like on a day like election day, you can see there'd be a significant additional cost if the clerk weren't in a position you had to put another employee out there for that day. So it's kind of looking into that. And then in addition to that, we, there was some questions regarding the person who went and spoke on behalf. Did you guys end up having a lobbyist? And I know you can hire anybody you like. Did you guys hire a consultant or lobbyist to speak on behalf of the clerk's office that day, or not?
I think we're just going to stick to the election questions. We haven't hired a lobbyist yet.
No, you haven't hired, but somebody spoke on behalf of the clerk's office on that legislation.
I think we're going to keep it to the election before June.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. That was good.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for this report. I found it interesting. And this is not, I wouldn't expect that this would be done at this point. I mean, I know that there is so much information in here. But I'm curious, when you look at government providing services to the taxpayer, would you ever be able to do an analysis on the service of vote by mail versus early voting versus in-poll election day voting? Do you expect that you could ever get to that point where you would?
Like, vote by mail, like, your question?
My question is, would you ever be able to compare the cost of delivering the service of voting when you deliver it vote by mail versus election day voting? I know that's versus early voting. I know that's a huge ask. I'm just curious if it's anything that's possible. Why I ask is because I've heard over and over again in my circles vote by mail is so much cheaper. How do you know? You know, I hear that, and I'm wondering if there would ever be an opportunity to actually analyze that notion.
And you'd have to do it in like chunks, like if it was 100%, 50%, 25%, because in the initial, right, everyone's not going to vote by mail. You're still going to have elected services.
You know,
So you'd have to have a
I
graduated
did not mean to
chart.
put you on the spot, by the way. I was just curious if this is a narrative that I hear, or if there ever would be data. And I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I think it would be a big project due. I think we have some numbers, you know what I mean, already of like election day costs and things like that. So I think we have a start at those numbers. It's not on our to-do list right now, that analysis. We have a lot to do, so, but it's certainly a good question.
I would imagine there should be some data across the nation.
Sure.
Somebody's probably done some of those, but which is right in one respect. I mean, how can you say, if you had 100 votes of the people that voted on that day, if you went down to 75, it doesn't necessarily change the cost, it still have to be open and stuff, so it would be hard to say that vote cost this much, but there's got to be some national data on some of that stuff. I'm sure somebody did this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the places to look is in Colorado right now.
Yeah.
What they've done out there, we saw at the county clerk's convention earlier this year, we saw, just what the cost savings were. Colorado and Denver in particular have gone focused a lot on vote by mail, and it was pretty impressive to get a higher percentage of turnout and a lower and much lower costs. But again, I mean, these are things that are not statutorily provided for at this point in Illinois.
Right.
Right.
And I think
I'm
there's a lot
gonna
of
be honest with you,
consideration too.
I love the question. That I think is a really good question. It's a legitimate question. But I do think that I would just say that we probably don't want to base it based on a 13% election, right? Let's go through some general and let's get the real numbers on what it actually costs to run an election. But I do love where you're coming because, if you did get 80% of people to vote by mail, you could lower your cost tremendously because you would need less places. I'm sure if 80% of people were voting by mail, you could probably close down half your precincts, right? Because you wouldn't have anybody going. I don't know statutorily if you could do that or not, but I thought it was a great question.
Julie?
Yes, I had a comment. It's kind of related to what Ray just said. We've got vote by mail, we've got election day. Why is our early voting period so long? Is it not possible that he has 2 weeks of walk-in early voting? That would reduce the costs associated with that. Instead, I think when the early voting started February, was it February 21st? Or it's a really long period of time there. So isn't there some way to, we've made it very convenient. I don't know how much more convenient we can make voting. So that's one thing I just wonder why we get it so
40 days
long.
prior is in our office, so our staff is already on board. Our office is open and ready to go. So we're taking early voting 40 days prior. The early voting at the satellite locations is 2 weeks. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? Gloria?
And then again, this just kind of piggybacks on the early voting. I noticed in your page 7, you say you're in discussions about early voting on the east side of Joliet. What's driving that discussion? Because I kind of think of this location as your east side. So I'm just curious because I just want to make sure we're not missing other areas. So what drives the decision for an early voting location?
We're looking actually everywhere. You know what I mean? We're looking out eastern Will County, other areas, eastern, east side of Joliet, in all areas of the county. We're actually looking. We've stated the ones that we are having conversations with currently.
So is it driven by statistics or is it just driven, how is the decision made? How is the decision developed?
I mean, it's funny because we took a look at Shorewood, for example, and realistically, you know, Shorewood is well served, you know, that area by Troy Township, but when they, you know, when we had conversation with them about possibly coming on board, and lessening the burden and with a commitment to, you know, serve in the general election in 2020, we jumped on board and said absolutely. Same thing with Joliet on the east side. If we can add more locations in a cost-efficient manner, that's certainly something that we want to do.
There is a concern there. I'm sure that's why you look over the turnout is normally kind of low in that area of Joliet. And I'm sure that's why the concern is there. And I do like that, Gloria, because I think that's a good idea to constantly look at areas where there is voter turnout and wonder why and what can we do to help it. I think it's important, as you all know, for everybody to vote. But what is the problem why they're not coming out and voting? Historically, that area turnout has been very low. And I'm glad you all have eyes on that. As well as others, as you mentioned. I'm glad for that.
Okay, thank you for that extensive report.
Sorry. Thank you.
And if anybody else has any further questions, they can stop by and see.
Absolutely. I'll stop by. I'm always here. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next new business, transportation planning grant updates, and we need a motion to take this until the June 6th meeting.
So, second.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions? Okay, motion carries. Next, confirming the award of contract to Gallagher Asphalt for $5,270,535.26 for Arsenal Manhattan Road from Baseline Road to Magnolia Lane, County Board District 6. Motion to move this to the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Next, resolution to use MFD funds for the funding of Arsenal Manhattan Road from Baseline Road to Magnolia Lane, County Board District 6, $3,600,000. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, authorizing the approval of contract for debris removal located at 2928 West Indiana Avenue in Beecher, Illinois, and that is County Board District number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Move it to the county board. All in favor? All right, next. Renewing participation in the State of Illinois Federal Excess Property Program. Can I have a motion? Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Authorizing an IGA with Lewis University to provide access to the countywide radio system.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Awarding the bid for household hazardous waste collection.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Authorizing addendum with a team's recyclers for turnkey electronic recycling, collection, and processing services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We need a motion here to remove, oh, I'm sorry, number 10 here. Authorizing a contract with A-Team Recyclers for 1 day and Lockport Program electronic recycling service.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Next, number 11, authorizing IGA with Joliet to provide water to Fairmont subdivision. We need a motion to remove this.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Authorizing an IGA with Joliet concerning Will County Continuum of Care. Do I have a motion?
So
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mark, could you just go back one moment? Why did you guys remove the, is it because it's going to come back later?
We knew when we put it on that they might not have all the documents ready.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Yes. They will be bringing it back once they have everything.
All right, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
You'll get it right, you'll get it.
Okay, next we have authorizing renewal of the wraparound professional liability insurance for the Will County Community Health Center. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Confirming the RTA FY18 and FY19 enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities continuation projects grant. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Authorizing the RTA fiscal year 17 enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities continuation projects grant award agreement.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Confirming the fiscal year 2020 Northeastern Illinois Area Agency on Aging application for grant funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Replacement hires for the County Executive Maintenance Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Replacement hires for the Records Management Department.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objectors? Motion carries. Okay, next the Kankakee Regional Development Authority, which is AKA, also known as WKRDAK appointments. This is an informational letter which will be sent out to the county executive asking for recommendations to appoint this board. No action on that, there's some information. That'll be on the way. Snail mail or email. All right, proclamations. There'll be.
We have two to be read into the record recognizing the 110th anniversary of Fort Erie House Lodge number 167 and declaring the first Friday in June as National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Okay. Then the appointments, to move them over to the county board. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Other new business, we need to add a resolution authorizing the state's attorney's office to file a suit against the inmates in jail after they are out to collect the cost of their incarceration. Mary, you have a comment on that?
Sure, there has been a statute on the books for a very long time that allows us to pursue those who have the financial resources to pay for a certain portion of their incarceration. We have not traditionally done that, but we have been working on it, and we think we're prepared to start filing suit against some of the individuals, and so we need authority from county board to go forward with that.
Thank you, Mary. Do we have a motion for that come?
Question really quick. Is that just for people who are found guilty?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move that to county board. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay. Next, we have committee reports. Any comments from the committee heads that are here?
Something really quick.
Tyler?
I need to make a motion to save space for 6 zoning cases under land use. So I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, are there any other committee reports or requests? Lori Summers.
Just a couple of updates. We have Veronica Boya from, as recommended by Rachel Venture from the Spanish Community Center, come to speak to us. The other thing that we are looking at, and we had a lot of discussion on starting an ad hoc committee, every one of you should have received something explaining what the ad hoc committee was going to be about and what it was going to consist of. I know there was questions from Mr. Frizzalone about that. Hopefully we're going to move forward on that. And the other thing that I have to say is I have to throw this out there because it is Nurses Week. So hug a nurse for me.
It's not politically correct.
With consent. So where is, you guys, it's Nurses Week. Where is my deck of cards?
Oh!
50 of them signed. So missed opportunity, everybody, but I can't say enough about the people who choose to go into healthcare, no matter what that is, whether it is as a dietitian or as a CNA or as someone that keeps the floors clean for us. I can't do my job without them, and so we should be celebrating all of them because it's a tough, tough line of work to go into. Happy Nurses Day to everyone.
I need that. Can I ask Lori a question?
Sure.
When you said Ron was coming, are you, to talk to us, are you talking about the full board?
No, she came to.
Oh, she came to
Health and Safety.
okay.
Yeah. We're trying to bring people together across the board, and it's working.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, thank you all for your participation. Is there any more committee reports? Any other comments from committees? Okay, thank you very much. Now we're going to move to public comment. Anybody from the public want to comment? Anyone from the public want to comment? I haven't seen anyone. And I'll ask one more time. Public comment, anybody? Anybody? Okay. Let's move on to the chairman's report. I have none. Mary, do we need an executive session? She says no. And now I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the county board agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And the next meeting for this group will be June 6th. Mark that on your calendar. Right after this meeting, we have a meeting of the Committee of the Whole. So can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
Lana, can we have a roll call, please?
Frizzalone. Here. Ogalla. Summers. Cook. Here. Eustace. Moran. Rice. Harris. Trainier. Fritz. Mueller. Gould. Van Dyne. Balish.
I'm here.
Brooks.
Yeah.
Parker. Here. Ventura.
Present.
Dillinger. Here. Markham. Berkowitz. Here. Cowan. Here. Tuminello.
Here.
Weigel. Carlitis.
Here.
Winfrey. And Ferry.
Here. Mr. Carlitis, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We don't have any old business to discuss, but we do have some new business. And I'd like to introduce to you from the Land Use Department, a lady called named Sam Bloomer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your patience while I just, technology, thank God for Lana, otherwise we'd all be staring at a black screen today. Pop this open real quick. All right, while that loads, I will give an introduction from here, if that is okay, Mr. Chairman. My name is Sam Bleemer, for those of you who don't know me or haven't seen me in a while. I am the Energy and Conservation Specialist for Will County, and today I want to bring to this Committee of the Whole a discussion of the Greenest Region Compact. This is the document you all should have in front of you. If you don't have one, I believe that Beth was making her way around with them. Here we go. And the Greenest Region Compact, really in a nutshell, it's not a complex document, although you may open it and say it's thick and there's a lot of going on in here. It really is a sustainability toolkit to help public sector entities work through their sustainability goal setting and goal tracking. Now, it was created by the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. I am. I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint to open up here.
Okay, all right. Just wanted
Thank you so much.
Sure.
And this goal tracking toolkit really, it puts together the research of several of the municipalities and counties and townships and our different units of government throughout our region and says these were the different components that we found in these sustainability plans that were prioritized across all of our communities. And it took all of those priorities and put it together into a toolkit for different units of government to use instead of having to start from scratch, do all of that research on your own or hire out and spend taxpayer dollars on research that's already been done. Thank you for being patient. Okay. So the reason I'm bringing it to you today is because I would like to bring it to your attention for consideration for Will County to adopt this document. That basically means that we agree that we have similar priorities as to what is in this document. It doesn't mean that we support and adhere to every goal in this document. It's a starting point. And as we've continuously talked about updating our energy and conservation plan and what exactly should be included in that and how things are different from our first energy and conservation plan in 2012, this document really speaks to the expansion of work that this body has done in the area of sustainability or in areas that relate to sustainability in some way, shape, or form. And I think that this is really representative of that and can help us goal track from 2012, see what we've accomplished, and be our foundation for our new energy and conservation plan or whatever name that may take on. So I'm just going to overview how it was built so you have some schema as to the research behind it. And then I'm going to go over what is in the Greenest Region Compact and the impact on Will County. I think it'll be very interesting to see just how many of our communities have adopted this. Nearly 50% have of our municipalities in Will County boundaries, and over 116 municipalities in the Chicagoland region have adopted it. So the goal of the Greenest Region Compact is to align environmental issues, resources, and actions at the local, regional, and national levels to guide municipalities or public entities, as this has grown to be, to achieve greater environmental sustainability. I think it is a very blanketed goal, something that we all have in common across our region, which is why so many folks have found interest in its value. So when building the GRC, unfortunately Edith Macra, who is the environmental chair for the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, could not be with us today. She had another engagement. She sends her regrets that she couldn't be here, but her and her awesome team said, why reinvent the wheel? Let's see what everyone's doing in the region and what programs are active and going in the region, and then let's create an inventory of that. So when they created an inventory of the different community achievements in the greater Chicagoland area, this is a breakdown of the pie of the different areas of air, climate change, energy, land, sustainability, stewardship,
waste, and water. This was the initial categories that they just took from what was out there. They didn't say, we're going to look for these categories. They just looked based on what was out there, and these were the categories that folks had in their different sustainability plans. And there was a lot of great focus on energy, land, and waste, but some of the other areas were more sparse in their commonality across the different sustainability plans and goal tracking. And they found that about 10% of our communities in all of the areas that were studied for this plan are doing a lot or are elitists in working in sustainability. They really have just gone above and beyond. And that number isn't terribly impressive to me because we want to have great impact. We want to do as much as we can on a broad spectrum for our residents. It's great that we have 10% of folks in the Chicagoland area who have gone above and beyond to this level that most folks aren't working on. But what's really impressive is to see that 71% were working at a medium or lower level on sustainability issues, which means 80% of our communities, more than 80%, are working in some way on sustainability, which is really great to see that we have this commonality. And it's hard to see up here, but when you look in your packet of the Greenest Region Compact that was given to you, you can see those bars are representative of the different categories that made themselves apparent during the research process. So they analyzed, this is a breakdown of the 30 local plans, 9 regional and national plans, and 1,149 specific sustainability goals. So when we say it's comprehensive, it's really not pointed at one particular region. They tried to be as inclusive as possible so that more people could find value in adopting the GRC. And again, I know this is difficult for you to see, but all of these are different communities whose different goals and planning documents were a part of the GRC, have been implemented in some way, shape, or form into the GRC. And you can see there's a large chunk here from Will County communities. So when looking at the different amount of effort put into the different areas, it's quite inequitable. Different areas have different focus, and that's going to be true because we have different residents, different geographies, different social characteristics that are going to lend themselves to different priorities. But in order to put it all together, Edith attempted to work to create a more equitable document that helps all of these communities be able to look at what areas are our biggest focus and how can we take those and leverage them up and actually be doing something, because a lot of folks don't have or have one staff person dedicated to sustainability related efforts. And so this document saves hundreds of hours of research. In order to give the most comprehensive and really actionable, we can do this sustainability plan, not just a coffee cup holder or a dust collector, something that's actually used, and I'll show you how that works. So these were the 10 consensus sustainability goal categories that are included in the GRC. And you'll see in the packet there's a further breakdown with additional detail in each of those 10 areas. And the Greenest Region Compact, this is a brief explanation. It's on the beginning of your packet. I won't read any of this to you. It's just so you can see what's included and get an idea of where you may want to look further if you have questions or wish to gather additional information. And it breaks down what's included in each of those different 10 categories. This is an example of what one of the resolutions can look like. I have a draft one that was sent to me by Edith. She sends it to everyone who's going to be giving an informational presentation on the Greenest Region Compact, and that's something that I can share with you all if you wish to see what it looks like from a resolution standpoint. What exactly are you resolving about the GRC? And really it's saying we're going to adopt it, we're going to have discussion about what's in it, we're going to do our best to encourage our team here at Will County, our greater Will County team, to work on their sustainability efforts. In a nutshell, that's what the resolution states. So this is a map, 116 municipalities, I actually think it's 118 now, that have adopted the Greenest Region Compact all across the Chicagoland region, and then there's 10 COGs. We call them COGs, essentially it's coalitions of governments, and the Will County Governmental League is one that has endorsed this particular document. So another organization that we've had a long-term and strong partnership with that sees the value in the Greenest Region Compact, and you can see the other COGs that have been that have endorsed the GRC. Over 5.8 million residents are now affected by what value this brings. That's a comprehensive total of all the adopting municipalities and units of government. So this again, breakdown of objectives and strategies. The framework is a framework. I think it's important to stress that it's not saying we are adopting this as our sustainability plan. We can use it as a framework to write our sustainability plan. And that's really my wish for your consideration of this document. We're not required to report anything to the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. Of course, if we do some type of goal tracking, we share it with them. They greatly appreciate that. However, we're under no obligation to say, okay, every 6 months we must submit what we've done in the Greenest Region Compact. So this is an example of one of the pages that you'll see in the Greenest Region Compact. And this also comes in an Excel spreadsheet form, which is why it looks kind of interesting on paper. But it's really so for those of you who like to see things in print and check things off and doodle on them and use it as a tool, you can do so. So you can see the objectives are the items that are bolded, and then the items with an arrow or a greater than sign, those are your strategies of how to achieve those specific objectives. And then it's not listed on this page so you can actually see what's on the top portion, but on the bottom you have advanced strategies. So maybe in a particular area you're very strong and you want to keep moving in that direction. What's an advanced direction we can take? Or maybe you're just getting started and considering some objectives under these certain categories. So that's how it's broken down. The larger goal right here, lead by demonstrating sustainable values and practices. I believe this is the Sustainable Communities page or municipal operations page. These are the objectives and strategies, and then this is where you track where you're at in these different strategies, objectives, goals. And it says, you know, maybe we've already done this. Maybe we're working on it. Maybe it doesn't apply to us. Some of these are not going to apply to us. Maybe we don't want to work on it right now. We're gonna say we'll readdress this at a later time. So it helps track where you're at as well, all in one neat, tidy document. So supported programs, SoulSmart. The SoulSmart effort that was all over our region, though we were a first mover and proud to be. The Greenest Region Compact brought together folks who had adopted it and created a SoulSmart cohort and helped those communities in a large group achieve SoulSmart designation. So those are the types of benefits that are reaped from adopting the GRC. You'll also see AmeriCorps. There is different AmeriCorps volunteers that are working in different parts of the region for folks who have adopted the Greenest Region Compact to help them actually achieve their goals and strategies, and oftentimes it's at little or no cost to the county or the municipality. It's a voluntary program. And then there's other collaborative programs, the VW mitigation funding. That's something that the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus advocates on behalf of the GRC adopters. So again, it just gives us an into some of the opportunities for funding and technical assistance that it's difficult to have your eyes in all places, no matter how hard you try. And so we have people who are already involved in these organizations looking out on our behalf and letting us know, here's an opportunity. If this is something that fits with one of the strategies you as a county have agreed is a priority for you, this is what you can do. So again, I won't go, you all will have time to look through this on your own. I know that, and I know you don't want me to read all of this to you, but this again is just another look at the energy section of the plan. In my biased opinion, I don't know how this ended up on the presentation, but adopt codes and permitting practices that support renewable energy systems in the community. So that's something we could say, yes, we've already done that. In 6 months, we want to take a review and see if anything's changed, where we need to take a look at those again, and maybe update them to meet the needs of the changing environment. Then we have a larger objective at the bottom, enact policies that support clean energy, facilitate the adoption of renewable energy technologies by adapting building and zoning codes. So again, we've done some of that. This looks at it on a larger scale, not just talking our SoulSmart experience, but again, how we're doing the solar study with Strand Associates right now, that would fall under this objective. So much of it we may be doing already, and much of it we may look at it and say, oh, you know, we weren't thinking that we could take advantage of that. Let's discuss how it fits into our long-range or short-range planning. And again, the SoulSmart cohort gets brought up there. This is a look at the cohort was 20 municipalities. This again is just an outcome of what adopting the GRC and just getting access to that network can do for a community. At the time, this was the largest cohort in the country for solar, so it really is great for press, it's great for education, it's great for communicating across peers when we're all facing a common, not issue, but a new topic like solar was for us. Those are some of the Greenest Region volunteers who are working across the region. We do have one that has been assisting Will County in some of our efforts, and that has been at no cost to us, so we got a great benefit in that. I'm just going to skip through, some of these are repetitive. This is a look at the Will County GRC communities, so 18 communities. These folks have all adopted the GRC. And those different COGs, the South Suburban Mayors and Managers, Southwest Conference of Mayors, Will County Governmental League are all supporting coalitions of government. So 47% of our municipalities have adopted the Greenest Region Compact and said, yes, we think this is the framework that we should be working from. And that number is growing. We have several more that are currently considering this document. GRC branding, we also get access to the branding. Again, there's value in that from a marketing perspective. The GRC has gotten a lot of national attention and awards, so to say that part of that coalition has benefit just in that brand. Outcomes of the collaborations against Soul Smart Greenest Region, AmeriCorps volunteers. It also gives access to things like purchasing pools, so for community solar off-taking, these communities have joined a co-op where they'll get access, and Edith will work with her team to coordinate for them to purchasing power from some of the local community solar projects. So that's an example of another benefit, benefit after benefit. And SHMEC, South Metropolitan Higher Education Consortium, is one of the organizations that has the AmeriCorps member. I like to give them a shout out because they've allowed their AmeriCorps member to spend time on some Will County supported initiatives. Was that fast? Was that good? So our Edith Macra, she's awesome. If you have any specific technical questions about the research, she's definitely going to be a better resource than I could be. If you have Will County specific questions, you know I'm always available to you all.
I have a question. This does not have anything to do with smart cities, correct?
No. Not to my knowledge. I've never heard it affiliated, but I can confirm that for you.
Yeah, because if it does, I want nothing to do with it.
I never heard the two affiliated, so again, not at all to my knowledge, but I'll confirm that for you so you have for sure.
You know, we haven't seen any numbers, but you know, when we go into this stuff, we really need to see cost.
There is no cost.
No, there's a cost affiliated with what we do. It's not free.
Sure. So let me just make sure I'm understanding correctly. This is a free.
Like we were doing solar. And if we do solar on a building, it costs us money to put solar on a building.
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
Well, the cost is higher than what we're going to gain, then it's a bad idea.
Correct.
Well, in the case of solar, it's a good idea for us. So I say fine. But I don't want to see the county going out and spending a bunch of money on projects that really are a waste of our taxpayer dollars. Just to be called green. So I really want to know, when we talk about this in the future, I want to see dollar amounts, how much it costs and how much is projected that we can save.
Sure. That very good point, County Board Member Balich. I would never, in my person, recommend to this county board anything that would not be a good value for taxpayer dollars. Absolutely not. I would just not ask for you all to consider that. I wouldn't be able to feel good about it as a representative of the county or as a person. This is really for us to build upon. It gives us a framework to start and do this, write this new sustainability plan.
You know how I felt about the solar stuff.
Absolutely.
You know, and after I realized that there was a savings, I was in favor of it. So I'm not hardcore where I am, no way. I just want to make sure that the county is not going to spend money for something that's really not going to go gain to us, just so that we can say we're part of this Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. Because I don't like the idea of the Mayor's Caucuses, because most of those mayor caucuses have a lot to do with Cook County and Chicago, and Cook County and Chicago want to come in here and steal our resources and assets. They're just predators. And whenever I see something like that, I think something's up. So, you know, seeing metropolitan mayors, some people look at, oh, that's pretty cool. I look at it different. They're coming in after our stuff. And we have to protect ourselves from Cook County and Chicago.
Thank you, Steve. Point made. Mike?
Yeah, Sam, you know there's nobody greener than me here. And, but I do want to ask some questions and I have some concerns. Much like Steve says about the mayors, and that group is the one that wants to take 20,000 acres out of the Vietnam airport, which would be cleaned. So they're always on more of an economic track than they are a green track, which concerns me. Secondly, how many counties have signed that?
Kane County adopted this document last month.
Okay. No other counties yet?
No other counties, because it was originally written for municipalities and then additional units of government, the original GRC, I should say. There's a GRC, Greenwich Region Compact, and then the Greenwich Region Compact 2. We don't talk about the Greenwich Region Compact because no one's using it anymore. It's the Greenwich Region Compact 2, which was updated once townships and counties and other units of government were finding interest in it, because we had to make it more comprehensive, or I should say they have to make it more comprehensive to appeal to those folks. Now, I just would like to provide a clarification, if I may. The Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus did the research to assemble this document. By adopting the document, it does not make you a member of the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus.
Right.
It does not say you subscribe to their values and principles. It also does not marry you to any of the objectives in here. It's a tool to go through and say which objectives work for us. How can we use this based on the research that's already been done to write a sustainability plan that works for us, that we find value in?
And there's a lot of good things in here. My concern is if we adopt this, I don't want it to be a document that everybody refers to and says, we have to do that because, and it's only going to cost us $1 million, but it's in our plan here that we have to do it. That's the big concern. I'm hearing what Steve's saying, but I understand it on a case-by-case basis as we look at solar. We saw there was another line. It makes sense. It's good practice. All of those things have to come into play. But there are things in here that are counter-county unincorporated areas that, you know, the idea of some people living in unincorporated areas gives them more leeway to do things, and that's why they want to be in an unincorporated area. If they wanted more rules and regulations, they would go to a municipality, or next to a municipality, and abide by their laws. So I think we have to watch, because there's so many things in here, to look at all of them, so that somebody can't stand up and say, well, we have to do this now, because it's part of this plan, and you all voted for this plan, so we've got to stop leaf burning everywhere, which we know is a bugaboo, and that happens to be in here. So I really think we have to watch in that regard. We can, if we vote on this, as a guideline for things to look at, to check the boxes, but not as a guideline for what we need to do exactly in the future. Because then we're not assessing things on an individual basis. And there's some things in there going to be crazy costly that may not benefit us. You don't want to do it just to check the box. So
Absolutely. And that in this document, I'm really glad you made those points, County Board Member Frizzlin, because it is not meant to be, we must do everything in here to check the box. It's meant to be what aligns with our goals and values. Let's work on those. What's going to bring value? Let's work on those. It's a framework because it's a starting point. It's by no means the final product. And the concerns that have been expressed by many communities who have ended up adopting this document. And it's really, if Edith was here, she could tell you, some folks don't use it as a framework for any certain part. Let's say they don't have a public works department, we're not going to look at this particular portion. It doesn't apply to us. It's not in alignment with what we hope to achieve right now. So they just don't pay attention to it.
So if it is adopted, I know you said it's a framework, but who's deciding on what projects or what initiatives or goals we're going to go after?
So what my hope is to use this to create the basis and the foundation for an updated sustainability plan. And then that sustainability plan would be brought to you all to consider for approval. So it's really a.
You could do it without joining because you get all the stuff.
Can I comment?
We've got-
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been waiting for a long time. So I asked Edith for a resolution, and I did edit it for Will County. And I asked Madam Speaker to add it to the county board with Sam's support because of all the work that she's done on the sustainability. To answer Annette's question, it would be us, the county board. We drive the policy making of the county. At the end of the day, it is in our control. So to Steve's point, to Mike's point, it is absolutely what we decide to spend our energy on and our tax dollars. Now, Sam and the Land Use Department and the Forest Preserve can all recommend things that make sense within their wheelhouse. I've spoke with their departments, I've spoke with Ralph at the Forest Preserve, and there are several things we're already doing, that we're already supporting in this document. So to me, it's a little bit of a no-brainer. To Mike, your point about, we don't want to say we have to do this. I agree. And there are absolutely things in here that do not reflect what we do at the county level. And so if you turn to any page, you'll see that column L says not relevant. So the idea is, like when I spoke with Ralph at the Forest Preserve, that they would go through this and itemize what are they already doing, what are they not doing, what's feasible, what could be in a future plan. I'm sure Sam and her departments would do the same thing. And then at that point, they can bring forward additional plan. Like she said, this is a framework, not a Bible.
That's my point, Rachel. We could, Sam could, Ralph could, can just look at this book rather than joining.
Right. So we're
saying,
not joining.
Here's our.
Right.
Here is, rather than adopting the GRC, create our own sustainability plan out of things in here.
There's, other than the benefits that Sam has already pointed out, we are, and to confirm that Sam had already said that we're not joining the Mayor's Caucus.
No,
that is
no,
not what this is. The resolution says that we're adopting this as a framework. So then this gives us a tool to then move forward. It also sends a message that we do care about, our land uses and our mobility and our leadership in the area and our water, which are things we're already doing. There's no downside to this. No one's going to hold us accountable. We, at the end of the day, take those decisions.
Thank you, Rachel, for your comment. Lori, do you have?
No.
Tim?
Yeah, Sam, thank you for what you've done as far as sustainability up to this point. Appreciate your efforts, especially on the solar side. I saw how active you were on that. I always get a little nervous when I look at this, so maybe you could soothe my nerves. But you mentioned quite a few times that this isn't about reporting. We don't have to report. And as far as accountability to the GRC2 organization or what have you. But I'm looking at this, the objectives and strategy pages and everything. And I'm going down it and I'm looking at all the check boxes and, I'm going through goals and reducing sprawl and development park master plans. And this thing oozes reporting. And for us to turn around as a county government, to Mike's point, I feel that one of the ways that we do, and we're going to apply ourselves as elected officials, is to be able to keep this structure out of what we're doing and to rely independently on ourselves as a county to make these decisions. And in government, a lot of things always start out as a great plan and a checklist. And then there's accountability, and then it's used as a ruler to beat municipalities over the head with. So I get a little nervous. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from with it. I think we can do a lot of these things internally. If you want to look at some of this and use it as a guidepost, that would be great. As far as a commitment to this organization, not so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your feedback, County Board Member Paulides. I just wanted to mention that the checkbox and the reporting aspect and just nature of it in general is really for self-reporting to make it easier to, it's not, sometimes when you're looking at a plan, like, wait, did we do this? Where are we at with this? It's just to make it easier in that aspect, but I thank you and respect your.
Okay, Judy, do you have a comment?
I do. So Sam and I have talked a bunch of times on sustainability and things like that. She knows that I am totally into that type of thing with the environment. And being here in Will County, we are in an area that could become lost. We could become DuPage County, where years ago, when my grandmother first moved there, was a lot of open space, and now it's just built up so much, as well as other counties, you know, Cook County and things like that. So I would really like our county to look at what we have here and how lucky we are to have what we have. We have a lot of major roads, granted, they need to be improved, but we do have them. In addition to that, we have a lot of open space from our forest preserves, and we've put in a lot of practices through the forest preserves with our conservation practices on the farmland. That's property that we haven't yet developed into a forest preserve. That's a big improvement that we've done. And so we need to look at that because we are at the point where we have a lot of influx as to more and more building, more and more concrete, things like that. And I think it'd be good for us to look and say, listen, how much do we want to build out? What is the real goal of us in Will County as legislative leaders to what do our constituents want? And maybe putting a land use plan in place where we say, you know, we're going to look at trying to do some farmland preservation, things like that we maybe didn't do. We've talked about it for a while here. You can do easement purchases. Kane County has done that. I'm sure you're aware. I've worked with Jill from out there, but I mean Janice Hill rather from out there. But that's something that I think is a really good thing for us to look at, because otherwise, if we don't take the time to look at it now, and we continue on going, we'll just keep building and building and building another intermodal, another intermodal, and then we'll be at the point where it's too late for us to make a decision. So I think it's good, and I also know that a lot of local farmers out by me, little small ones, are looking at doing sustainable farming to create growing different crops for different food sources. So yeah, I totally think that it's a good idea to look at, and we are, like you said, Rachel, we're the ones to make the decision. And I think even if we take a small portion of it and say this is our focus right now, I think that's a benefit to us and our constituents. So,
thanks, Judy. Meta?
I just want to say thank you, Rachel, for getting this together. I really appreciate it. You too, Sam. My constituents really do like things like this up in the Aurora area. I also would like to respectfully request that we don't refer to our colleagues in other counties as predators, okay? Thank you.
Well, I believe they are.
I understand, but if you'd like to have that conversation out of an open meeting where you're referring to your colleagues as predators, I would appreciate that.
Well, they are.
Yeah,
South
you can
suburban
say
mayors and
anything you want.
managers are predators.
Thank you. Julie?
I would also like to say, I feel very strongly like Judy does regarding our agriculture base here. And once it's developed, it's gone. And I think, you know, there really isn't a category specifically about agriculture in this plan. But I think in Will County, I would support encouraging that, supporting that base, the preservation, the value it leads to our county, and what it's teaching our younger generations, and also the production of food. So I think that that's something that I would support very much. Development, fast forward 20 years, and development can create, we all know, a lot of problems. And we are not experiencing a 100-year flood, I believe, at this point in time. However, the flooding in the northern part of Will County is still at record levels and has not subsided like it typically does. So to me, you know, looking forward decades in the future, these are the things that happen with overdevelopment. So I am very much supportive of preserving that agricultural parcel as well as the forest preserve.
Lori?
Again, Sam, you know how I feel. I don't have to go into a little more during that speech. Good job. And thank you, Rachel. Thanks for bringing this forward.
Mike?
Yeah, again, let me reiterate, my concern is that this is a framework, but I think we can develop our own framework for this that everybody could agree on now. Because I will tell you, Rachel, we're all together right now and we're talking framework. We aren't going to be here forever. And the next group that comes in goes, hey, they all voted for this, we better start doing all this stuff now. And that's the fear, is when you put something down on paper that there's just all these kind of initiatives that could be started. I'd much rather see us, we already know what initiatives we've completed. If we put down on paper some sustainability initiatives that we want to look forward to over the next 10 years or whatever, and we focus on those instead of just saying, they still have this book and check off, hey, we did that. But once we put this in the record, the next group can say, hey, we've got to start doing all these things right now. And they all voted for them, so they must be right. That's my fear.
Amanda?
I think this is a really great framework. I do hear the concern about adopting it outright. However, they did a lot of the work for us here. I really like the idea of our county saying, you know, we want to protect the environment. And also having this whole study put together, it really increases transparency with the constituents so they know what we're aiming at, you know, what are we trying to do. I think a lot of constituents have mentioned to me environmental concerns as I've been out and about, but we don't really have a plan like this. So whether we create one as a county and use this as a framework or we actually adopt this, I think it would be really helpful as a board to do that for our county.
Stephen?
Yeah, I've been on the board for a while, and probably 4 of the 6 years I've been here, we had discussions where people came and gave presentations on water and how water is becoming a scarce resource. And the next year we get another one, we'll probably get one this year, but we never did anything. We never came up with a plan, we never not. We just said, yeah, it stinks. And then the landfill, that's filling up, and every year we talk about it. Every year I say we should start applying to expand the landfill, and I haven't heard anything come forward to expand the landfill. We have the Fiatone Airport that probably is never going to happen, taking prime farmland out of production and having those poor people that live there be forced to move. And not, what, you know, we have so many things that we could address as a county board without even going to this plan that we've talked about numerous times, and nothing has happened that I know of. Now, if you're going to tell me we did apply for an expansion of the landfill, I think that's great, if we did, but I haven't heard it yet.
Well, there is no need for an expansion yet.
But it takes 25 years to get it through, so how do we know it's
25 years? No.
Well, that's what we were told.
No,
we were told that at the last time.
We are beginning a process which you may or may not know about right now about renegotiating the host agreement. And one of the things was the out-of-county waste. And then allowing the towns beyond Will County. So that was one of those things that we have to renegotiate.
Well, we talked about that, and I told you it's wrong to take out.
But we have capacity to 2036 right now. 2036.
Didn't you guys say that it was 25 years to get it approved for an expansion?
Well, okay, Steve, if we try to bring a proposal where we have a lot of capacity, it could be challenged in that way. So we have to do it at the right time, okay? We have a lot of capacity.
It takes 25 years.
It does not take 25 years.
How long does it take?
It will take about 4 or 5 years to get through that process. When you add legal hurdles and citing and studying and all that, that's about what it would probably take. I can't say exactly the years, but 25 years, if you wanted to do a whole new landfill, you wanted to find another place, you wanted to study that, you wanted to go through that process, it would take longer. And that's what happened the first time, was it did take a while longer. We have a landfill. Expansion is different than finding a brand new landfill with the whole thing. We're talking about a vertical and possibly a horizontal capacity on the same footprint, same area. So it's different. I just wanted to clarify that. Now, as far as the discussion, we have what's called, and Marta was here during this time, back about 10 years ago, no, it was 7 years ago, this board adopted what's called the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Plan. Okay. A lot of what Sam is doing, a lot of what she has done, has been in compliance with that plan. There are some things we haven't done because they just haven't been able to, we haven't been able to get there. For most of that time, we had a part-time person working on this. Sam has only been full-time for what, 2 years? So we are moving heaven and earth right now as much as we can. But in order to do more and save $500,000 more per year, we would need more time on that. You know what I'm saying? We have to have more people, more time, more whatever. We can save a lot more money. And you'll find out soon that when we are negotiating our agreement, the gas coming out of our landfill is extremely valuable. Yes. So you'll find that out over time. You will. It not only is good for the environment to take care of that. I just want you to know we are working on a lot of these issues. I don't want you to think that we're not. Just because we haven't given any reports lately doesn't mean we're not working on it. That's
Okay, okay, thank you, Steve. Maybe?
No, I'm good.
Rachel?
Yeah, so I really would like this to be a bipartisan issue. I think a lot of things that's in here are things that all of our areas care about. So what I would encourage you guys to do if you have concerns is just go through each area and do a self-evaluation yourself. Go down each of the goals and mark not relevant or mark not interested, or if you believe we're doing them already, and see how much of this we're already doing at the county level. And then, adopting the framework doesn't mean that's what we're doing. Adopting the framework means we do a self-evaluation, we check it off, and like Sam said, we design a sustainability plan going forward. We design, our policies moving forward on what we have here, which means she would come back to the county board with, a plan that we would then vote on and say this is where we'd like to go. It would include the stuff on waste. Also, the agriculture between pages 7 and 13 is a very extensive stuff about land protections, and there is a lot of stuff in there about the farming. So I definitely encourage you guys to go through that, because a large part of our county is going to fall into those pages. So I just, I don't want this to be a fight. I want us to find a compromise to move forward, but I don't think we need to start from scratch. There is an excellent document here that we can pick out the parts that we like, and if we need to be super clear in our plan, Mike, to say by adopting framework, it is only giving us ideas for goals to create the plan that we then create, then let's add that language to the resolution.
Yeah, we'd have to be really clear about that.
Yeah.
So otherwise, somebody winds up using the document, including constituents, to say, you said you were going to cost share with me buying plants. Where's the money at?
Right.
We don't get that.
Thank you. Annette?
Just 2 quick questions. If we adopt this, there's no fee, right?
No.
And then if we're part of the GRC too, would that help with any grants or anything?
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
I don't think there's hooks to those grants, right?
Mr. Chairman, if I may just make a general comment, I would like to say thank you for enlightening me, because I have only been here for 2 years, as Dean said, and so I really appreciate it when I get to understand what my leadership is looking for and what experiences you all have had and how that is affecting the way we're looking at these different proposals I bring forward to you all. The reason I came here recommending or giving the option for consideration to adopt the GRC and asking of your time really is because if we are going to use it, of course, it's available publicly. Anyone can access it and use it for what they will. The reason that I mention adoption is because a great deal of research and work went into the document, and out of respect for that and us using it as a resource, adoption is one way to express that. Certainly not the only way, I'm sure, but that was my logic. Also, in the resolution, it can be stipulated that this is not a reflection of the sustainability goals, but rather the framework from which they were derived. That's another option that we can do. There's lots of flexibility with the resolution. I certainly think that one thing I've learned is that you all are interested in this type of format, however, and that it appeals to your busy lives and having a packet for every county board that's CBA thick, and just being able to go through and check and see what's done. And the method of reporting, it's really easy to check that way. So I appreciate that feedback, and I'm going to work to make sure the next sustainability document has that sort of style. The other thing, Mr. Chairman, if I may just ask for feedback, is currently our 2012 energy efficiency and conservation plan is very focused on energy. What I'm hearing is that there may be a desire for a more comprehensive plan that includes kind of all the aspects of sustainability that are being worked on. Is that a correct perception?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for your report, your presentation.
Thanks.
Good job.
And
Thank you.
we'll, I guess, take it under advisement at this time.
Thank you.
We have no other new business,
Motion adjourned?
Second.
no public comment, no chairman's report, no executive session. Now, motion to adjourn.
Second, yeah.
And second, all in favor?
Aye.
We be adjourned.